aware of that. Yes, I do understand those obligations. Evening, everyone. It's 9 o'clock, Monday, the 8th of November, 2021. My name is Thane Kirby, and I'm here till 10 o'clock. It's going to be a fantastic night tonight. If you're just joining us very slowly, welcome on in. I'm here running solo tonight. We don't have Sophia, and we don't have Sophia tonight on the show. Everybody, we don't have Mack fact checker. It's just me cobbling it together. So if you'd like to come on board the show and say hi, the link is in the comments. You can join me on the show tonight. I'd love to have you. We do have one special guest, though. If you're just joining us, our special guest tonight, Fiona Tarlton, daughter of Kelly Tarlton, joins us. Life of the adventurer, and what was it like to be a kid of someone very uber famous? Tarlton, man, he was bringing in the wildlife. He was as a treasure hunter. So it's going to be one of the best stories ever told. Evening, everyone. So Fiona joins us around 10 past 9 tonight. There we go. Fiona Tarlton, daughter of Kelly Tarlton, on the show. So any questions for Fiona, please do let us know. We've had some great numbers on people who watch the show, not live, not right now, but on demand from our Facebook page and also talkback.co.nz. People are watching the show. It's great numbers. So thank you so much if you've just tuned in. Yeah, so without our buddy boy and Sophia Nash tonight, so it's just me all by myself. So how's everyone feeling? 3.2 is it? We're going to hit that tomorrow night. Everybody is going to go out shopping. I'm not hot on the shopping, I'll be honest with you. It's basically still lockdown with shopping. Shopping to me is annoying, right down to finding a park and then walking through, usually with children, shopping malls. Ugh, no thanks. Joe Ford, are you drinking? Possibly. Joe, are you drinking? I'd like you to answer that question, please. If you are drinking tonight, too, please let us know. First message through the night, Joe Ford. Joe, click that little link that I put in the comments. Come and join me on the show if you like. We're here till about 10 o'clock tonight. And Fiona Tarlton is my guest. Where would I go shopping first? Ooh, probably going to go to a Westfields, get dragged through that. I know I'm going to go to AS Colour and buy myself some new black t-shirts. Joe Ford says he's possibly drinking as well. Let's go. Right now, I am drinking water. But, I'm probably going to go to beer shortly. I didn't hit the bottling as fast as I thought I was going to, so I'm a little bit out of booze today. There's the odd bottle in there, but I don't really want to go there because it's not my taste. It's very, very IPA-ish. I'm in for a cold Heineken. So if you'd like to join us, then please do hit that link and we can have a little bit of a chat. Yeah, so Fiona, she'll be joining us very shortly. Any questions for the daughter of an absolute Kiwi legend, a great New Zealander, pop them in the comments and we'll ask them. Anyway, Joe, how's your day been? Hopefully it's been good. You're a happy person and you're wrapped with Jacinda allowing you just a wee bit more freedom. Now you can catch COVID in a shopping mall. How cool is that? I don't know. I've just been avoiding shopping mall. Even the shopping mall car parks, I hated when they were actually open. Now you can go and catch COVID in schools. And now shopping malls, new and improved shopping malls now with COVID. So what do? You can't live like your life always like this. Here's lovely Michelle. Hi, Thane. Are you solo tonight? I am, Michelle. If you'd like to just pop on the link, it's in there in the comments section. You come and say hello. Maybe we can talk. Michelle is a watcher of the show, a viewer of the show, and she loves Elvis Presley. And God, I got some straight ass teeth there. Fantastic. I've been giving myself my own haircuts, as you can see. Shaved back, hair grows back, which is annoying, but I am losing my hair. I've faced those facts, but I do like a nice tuck back shave now with a nice zip across the lip. Nothing more professional than that, isn't it? Very Dustin Hoffman, this look, from the movie Hook. Fabulous. We welcome your messages. You can send us a message. Michelle, you could join the show if you'd like. And if you're just joining us, our special guest tonight is Fiona Tarlton, daughter of Kelly Tarlton. So many great questions I've got lined up from her. And yeah, what have we got here? Jamie Oxley, how's your day been, bro? Yeah, it has been pretty bloody good, actually. I've got through a lot of paperwork. I've got to be honest with you, I bought a van on the weekend, a diesel, an L300 Mitsubishi, and I picked it up for $500, and it's only going to cost $300 to get warranted, which is just incredible. And does it go on Trade Me, and do I sell it for $6? These are the things I've got to balance up, but it has been a good day. Joe Ford, renovations today and trying to think about which shop to catch COVID from first. As I said, mine's AS Colour, but I could go a warehouse or super cheap auto. Michelle is calling me Quincy Jones. Thank you, Michelle. And Samar is here. Nice to have you, Samar. If you'd like to jump on, there's a link in the thing and have a little bit of a chat. I'd love to talk to you face to face. I don't have a lot going on, but what I do have, I will share with you. No problem. Yes. So when was the last time anyone went to Kelly Tarlton's? Kelly, a deep sea diver, into conservation and preservation of the sea life, had a family, put his heart and soul into Kelly Tarlton's and a whole lot of other stuff. And then, and he suddenly died. I remember everything up to the dying part, which is, it's got to be a story and a half. Poor fella. But he seemed like an absolute officer and a gentleman. And what he's left Auckland is with an historic landmark like Kelly Tarlton's, which was beyond innovation and ingenuity back in the day, is incredible. And I didn't know that kind of thing. Did you ever bang on the glass as a kid when you're going through the tunnels? How does this work? How thick is that glass? Everything looks huge under glass. What are we doing here? Jamie Oxley from the comments. Yeah, the Super Cheap. That's my favorite shop. I do like that. I do like Super Cheap. And there are some deals there. And I'll often question deals. I'm kind of like, I'm getting more into quality as I get a bit older, but I still love a cheap deal, as you know, with my van. Where's Sophia? Sophia is very busy tonight and can't make it. And Benny has his battery's a bit low on his equipment, so he can't make it up to the show tonight. So literally it is me waiting for our guest to rock in, and so I can get an interview underway. Then at 10 o'clock, I'm swiftly going to pop this bad boy down and go and watch Succession on Neon. I think she's just dropped. Why does it drop late? And why are we drip fed like bloody patients and a COVID patient in a hospital? Also, one of my other favorite things to do today is taunt a non-vaccinated person. And this one was a religious guy. He's talking about the book of Revelations, not reservations. And he was basically saying, the people who don't believe in God, well, they're going to be the ones that are going to be suffering at the end of the day. And the vaccine has microchips in there which follow you. And he told me this by Facebook. And I'm going, Facebook has been following you for like 10 years, mate. Oh, years. Why don't you get the stuff without the chips in there? So this fight will just continue on. We'll debate. We'll continue on by messenger for the next few days until he realises. But there's been 200 deaths in New Zealand because of the vaccinations, of the vaccine. I'm going, what, with 3 million and haven't. So, you got to crack a few eggs to make an omelette. This is real life. So there you go. Also, I want to talk about something that Sophia always hangs up on me when I kind of like kick off in the conversation. My birthday's coming up on December the 3rd, and everyone in my family asked me, Thane, what can I get you for your birthday? And simple. There's only a couple of things I want. One is a metal detector. I'm into it. Boy, oh boy, am I into it. I would love a metal detector so that I could just, comb up and down the beaches or an empty lot and see what kind of mysteries reveal themselves to me. So if anyone knows of a good metal detector or would like to sell their metal detector, please let me know, because I'm definitely got a family member who is in the market to do that. Also, also a mobile sluice for gold mining. I think I'd like to take that seriously next year. It's a I've been watching Gold Rush. I bring in the Discovery Plus from the US via Amazon, just using a very cool VPN, and I get to watch all those TV shows. So yeah, that's kind of I'm pretty up to date with the Gold Rush. Love the Gold Rush. It's one of my favorite TV shows. So I'm thinking about a mobile sluice. I know what I'm looking for with pay dirt. So it's just a nice way of making a little bit of coin on the side, don't you think? What are you guys doing on the side? Have you got a side hustle, or am I the only one that tries to mine money-making ideas out of nothing? Because I have got a doozy, and I'm saying this publicly, but hopefully I've got no one intelligent enough to make this app happen. Here is my apps of app. This is going to be an award-winning idea. Are you ready? An app that holds your place in line on the telephone when you're calling like IRD, when you're calling KiwiBank, Westpac, when you're calling Mercury, and especially when you're calling New Zealand Post. It just calls you back when someone answers, just like that. Boom. What do you reckon to that? Tell me. There are people watching. Is that a great idea or what? That's a fantastic idea. Selena? That's a golf applause. I think you're liking that. What's Michelle got over here? What's she sending me? Industrial metal supplies. Okay, I'll go and check that out. Thank you very much for sharing. Would anybody like to tell me their money-making ideas or side hustles? Gosh, those systems are slow. Hopefully you're talking about the phone systems. I tried to get a business bank account. Found you a metal detector. Thank you very much. Hang on, what is this? Hey, they all have that feature already. Ah, shit. Thanks, Graham. I thought I was onto it today. I was like, to be honest, as soon as I thought about that idea, an app that calls you back, but they do call you back, didn't they? I forgot about that. Life is a Highway by, what's his name? Mark something Cochran came on. I was like, life is a highway. This is the idea. I'm going to catch this wave. I'm going to fucking catch it all the way to the beach this time. Amazing. Yeah. Phone systems. God, that was a shit idea. And the thing is, I don't actually do all the waiting on the phone. I get Sophia to do all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I don't have much experience at that. That's a bit of a shocker, isn't it? Thank you, Graham. Laughing at my expense yet again. Oh, man. Another thing I've had to do is in the bedroom, I've had to put a fan at the end of the bed now because I'm getting so hot at night. It's starting to warm up, guys. Thane, you would have fun using metal detector on me in my chair. Weirdly, it sounds smutty, that message. Especially if I read it like, Thane, you would have fun using them. Metal detector on me in my chair. Okay, so what do we got? We got 14 minutes past 9 o'clock. Our special guest has arrived. Any questions for our special guest? Please just comment through, everybody. Let's go there. Fiona, hi, how are you?
I'm really well. Yeah, thanks for inviting me along.
No worries. Thanks for turning up and being part of the show. This is exciting. I can't wait to get into it.
I enjoyed talking to you. I'm not sure how many months ago now, but that was good to have a chat. So, yeah. What would you like to talk about?
We talked on Radio Hauraki a year ago, and it was, we had to cut you down to about 3 minutes, which I find is just awful when you've got a great little interview and you're so damn interesting. So I just like to talk about from the start, because your dad, you got a famous dad, Kelly. He started a famous New Zealand, iconic location, the old Kelly Tarlton's there, the underwater aquarium. Or you call it the Underwater Sea Museum? What's it called exactly?
Well, it's had different name changes over the years with different ownerships, but it's now called Sea Life Kelly Tarlton's.
You've got to keep the Kelly Tarltons in there. Jeepers.
Yeah, well, I think it's pretty important because who actually owns it now is an English company called Merlin, which own a lot of sort of tourist agencies around the world, and they made them to swords, and also zoos like a zoo in Australia, but also lots of different aquariums. But this thing which is special about Kelly Tarlton's and our New Zealand aquarium is that it was they see it as like the Model T Ford of aquariums. So with the tunnel design, with the conveyor belt, with the sound of the ocean, you find them all around the world now. Literally, they're in China and Scotland and America and Australia, and you name it, you'll come across them. So, but so Dad came up with this design, and he's actually been recognised in 2 International Hall of Fames for his contribution to marine conservation and aquarium designs internationally.
I wonder if you could turn your phone on the landscape just so I can get more of you. So,
okay, yeah, I was wondering about this. Actually, sorry,
so you got to take the lock off your screen. I think it's all locked. So you know how you kind of like. Are you on an Apple iPhone?
I am on an Android.
Android. I don't know how you kind of unlock it, so when you turn it sideways, it goes full. So you're sideways now, but I think it's a bit locked.
Oh, there.
Anyways, here you go. Perfect.
Will that work? Hold on.
Yeah, gotcha. That's exciting.
Can you see me?
I can. I gotcha. Thanks,
okay,
Fiona.
I can't see myself, but as long as you can see me, okay.
I can see you. That's good. Hey, so what was it like having a famous dad, and when did you know he was famous? And tell me, how does the story kick off?
Right. Well, for me, it wasn't about knowing that I had a famous dad, because he didn't always, recognise his international fame until really after the aquarium. So, but for 20 years before the aquarium, he scuba dived in shipwrecks around New Zealand, and we had Kelly Tarlton's Museum of Shipwrecks up in Waitangi in the Bay of Islands. We owned that for about 30 years, and I just always knew that my dad was pretty interesting. He was a cool guy. He's pretty scruffy with his beard and sort of bald head and glasses, and my mother was always really well dressed, but Kelly wasn't. And so just growing up was really fun other parties with all these divers and talking about shipwrecks, and no other friends of mine had a recompression chamber in the garage, and cannons sitting in vats underneath the house. We had all these different cannons there, which were basically he was treating, so they would be conserved. And we even had, I think, Jacques Cousteau's son come and stay, and I had to go and sleep in my sister's bedroom so he could have his own room, and it was always really interesting.
Was he kind of like a big deal? Oh, Jacques Cousteau's son's coming. Everybody's got to sleep in their brother and sister room type thing. Was it a big deal?
Well, I don't know. I think it was. It was kind of exciting because Cousteau was such a legend. He invented the aqualung and transformed scuba diving. There's actually a documentary called Becoming Cousteau, which has recently just been launched in New Zealand, but I haven't been able to see it yet because it's cinemas in Auckland are closed with lockdown, of course. But anyway, But, lots of times sitting out on. I learned to scuba dive from a young age, and so did my sister Nicole. There's 2 daughters, so we learned lots of practical things, how to change tires on cars, and we learned to four-wheel drive, and from young age as well, and learning to drive in Dad's Toyota Land Cruiser Jeep, and which was always rusty, and pulling work dive boats out of the out of the sea.
Did you guys have the pens that kind of like were the bubble pens, and the kind of ship would go left to right when you were riding with it? Got those pens?
Actually, yes, that's a bit of a flashback. There was one also which had like a hard helmet diver, which used to drop down. So I think Dad came up with that concept, and because Mum ran the souvenir shop inside the Shipwreck Museum. So we had all these cool little pens and other things. Did you have one or something? How did you know about that?
I had one. Yeah, I had one. I'm just remembering it now and thinking how cool it was.
Yeah, it was fun to use it. I don't know, a school or something was. You could just play around with the little diver, or sort of going to get the treasure instead of concentrating on what the teacher was saying.
So, did you guys with the did Kelly go and was he physically digging as well? I mean, does he design the tunnel and did he did all that stuff? Was it him?
Yeah, he's there was one thing which was great about Dad, was that he was wasn't hierarchical in his leadership. He worked alongside. He was sort of what's the word? I guess an egalitarian leader in that even with something like when he's scuba diving on shipwrecks, if it it's cold water, big currents, huge swells. Nobody wants to bloody really get in the water and dive down there as looking for bits of shipwrecks in certain conditions. And when they're really extreme, often Dad would jump in and say, "Come on, you buggers, get in." So if I'm in here, you too. So he had a really core team of divers who are very loyal and amazing guys, and they've all gone on to great careers in the dive industry. But with building the aquarium, it was literally a dream of his since he was about 21 years old to build an aquarium. He came up with different designs, and so when finally he was able to get some money together, through people believing in his abilities, through him running the Shipwreck Museum, he got financing, and Mum and Dad, Rosemary, who's still very much around. So they sold their house. They put every bit of money they had into building that aquarium because it was Dad's big dream. So there was built under the road, and but New Zealand supported it. Auckland supported it. Fishermen came in with fish, and kids said caught things in buckets and brought them in, and
New Zealand really support
time.
something with great ideas like that. They're all about it, They just people come out of the woodwork to support something that's cool and different. Yeah,
well, especially when somebody who's leading the way with it is really passionate about it, and they feel that passion. Like the team who worked in the building of the aquarium was 1984-85, and that team of people, they worked extraordinary hours, and because they really believed in Dad's passion for what he was doing. And to this day, it's one of the highlights of their life was those years building the aquarium, because they also picked up on that passion for what they were doing, and the contribution to the education of marine conservation, and for New Zealand. Because some people are critical about aquariums, but you got to remember that Kelly Tarlton's is really amazing what they do. So they're like the one-stop shop for sick turtles in New Zealand. So if you find a sick turtle on the beach somewhere, if need be, Air New Zealand flies it up for free to Auckland, and our head guys of marine biologists, they're the ones who really treat these turtles well and try and get every bit of plastic or in their internals out, and quarantine tanks, and then they often release them. Every year we go up to marine sanctuaries such as the Four Knights Islands, or sometimes it's even up at the areas like the Kermadec or something. But these turtles are released, and so many other fish and are really cared for in that way. And with the penguins, they're all bred in captivity, so none are taken from the wild. We don't have any mammals in there, so we don't have seals or dolphins or anything like that. That was never part of Dad's dream. It was fish and New Zealand fish, New Zealand marine system. So yeah, we're very proud of the contribution that places like Sea Life Kelly Tarlton's and Auckland Zoo. Auckland Zoo's amazing as well. What they do.
They've really pulled up their socks too when it comes to taking care of animals now, haven't they?
Yeah, well, there's so much behind the scenes of what is taking place, and it's not just about tourism, about people coming in and going, oh, that's a pretty fish. It is important that people have an affiliation and experience with the marine creatures, or because that way they care about them and they'll make efforts to protect them, whether that's by forming further marine sort of safe environments, marine reserves. So that'd be wonderful to have more marine reserves in New Zealand.
I just googled a picture of your dad, and it looks like, is that your mum next to him? He's standing in a brown shirt with those kind of David Longy glasses on. Yeah.
Yes, it's probably not the most glamorous shot, but it's a bit windswept, but yes, that's Rosemary.
Very cool. I love it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But there's been some really interesting shipwrecks in New Zealand, and which people are still looking for shipwrecks, and but the laws have changed. It's a lot more difficult to go diving on shipwrecks, or it's actually what it is. It's hard to keep things that you find of shipwrecks. Like Dad used to own a lot of shipwrecks. He used to research them and buy them, and then he would lead expeditions on them. So we owned quite a few shipwrecks, like the SS Tasmania, and just I don't know, just various ones around.
What do you pick up a shipwreck for? And do you still own them, or are they gone?
Mum actually sold some of them when basically after Dad died, and there had been a really sad, tragic burglary on the Shipwreck Museum up north in Waitangi, where the SS Tasmania's Isidore Rothschild's jewels were stolen, and also some of the coins off a shipwreck called the Lingamite, which was another shipwreck we owned. The Lingamite was up in north of New Zealand at the Three Kings, whereas the SS Tasmania was down near Mahia Peninsula. And anyway, that's just two of the shipwrecks we owned, but jewelry and coins off that were stolen by a guy who was working on board as doing the dishes on the restaurant upstairs, and we didn't know that he had come out of Mount Eden or something for burglary, and he's a young guy, 23 years old, and anyway, yes, so he was so that was really traumatic for our family, and still is, because we never got any of that jewelry back, and we still have hope that somehow, somewhere, we'll have it returned, because it was not like having some commercial modern day jewelry stolen. This was maritime history, and very special pieces. But I actually do have one of those rings, not from, it wasn't in the safe on board the museum, but it was when I was young. I was allowed to choose one ring as like an heirloom heritage piece from my mum and dad.
Let's have a look.
I don't know if you can see that, but
hang on.
Yeah.
Your camera's just frozen. Oh, go a bit more. Oh, wow. That's real treasure.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's an amethyst, and it's a gold ring. I'm not doing very well with my camera work, but it's because I can't
go
see
a little bit more to the left, the right. No, other way. More down. That's it. Wow.
Anyway, so that's my one ring. So it's so important to me because there's very, very few bits of jewelry remaining off that shipwreck, because it was all stolen by Keith Anthony McEwen, who or Keith the Thief, we call him. So so anyway, he ended up in prison for a long time.
Good.
Which is what he deserved. Yeah,
absolutely. So that's a real shame that you lost. I mean, it's irreplaceable, quite literally irreplaceable. And like you say, hopefully they're going to come through the system and someone's going to grow a conscience and go, you know what, I might just return these. I wonder if they've hit offshore yet, you know?
Yeah, there's, who knows, so many theories, but it hasn't been located. So yeah.
So
And
what about pulling
Keith definitely didn't say what happened. You know, there's talk about going to gangs and who knows, but
all ends up with gangs. It's unfortunate. It's shocking. So what's the deal around going out and treasures now? And so if you find some treasure, you find a wreck, you find a treasure, is that treasure yours, or do you have to kind of hand it over to somebody?
Yeah. So the situation's changed since Dad was alive. He died in 1985, 7 weeks after the building of the aquarium, or the aquarium was opened. But I believe nowadays it's recently changed. It's much harder with situations with with searching for you can search for wrecks, I think, but if you find something, it's definitely not finders keepers. Like in the past, when Kelly or somebody always owned a shipwreck, so it might have been an insurance company or the great granddaughter of the guy that owned the ship, but somebody always owned the shipwreck, so you could research and potentially buy it off the insurance company. And so, but now the New Zealand government's much more stricter. And for example, there was a shipwreck called the Ventnor, which it had actually Chinese miners' bodies on it. They had 501 Chinese caskets of these miners being returned to their homeland in China, and it got to the Hokianga harbour and it got into trouble. It can be rough as guts, that harbour, and anyway, it sunk there. So all those caskets the bodies were sunk, but there were, I guess, some valuable things or something on board or at least historical information. And anyway, so when these divers came along, they, there were all of a sudden, so basically it was a response from officials issuing warnings and threats of sanctions. So, yeah. But there are still people searching for shipwrecks. Like there's a guy I know called Bill Day who owns Seaworks, which is a big marine consultancy firm in New Zealand. And early next year, he's leading an expedition in search of the General Grant, which is down in the Auckland Islands. So if you go south of south of Stewart Island and keep going, that's where the Auckland Islands are. And the General Grant was a shipwreck that Dad also led 2 expeditions for in the 1970s. But nobody's ever managed to actually locate that shipwreck. But it's got gold on board.
So Bill Day, General Grant, and what's his company called?
Seaworks.
Seaworks, okay.
He actually just had a birthday on Saturday. He turned 74. So.
Wow. And so, I mean, I can see how gold can be very addictive.
64. I
64.
Better correct myself. I'll get in trouble.
Yeah. Boy, but you can see how it can be addictive and can be a lifelong passion, right? This guy is in it to win it.
That's right. Look, people who are involved in shipwrecks, they are really passionate about it. Like, reading the stories and hearing the accounts of the survivors of shipwrecks. It's just incredible what they went through. Like the people on the General Grant, for example. Okay, so that sunk in 1868 at 10:30 at night, and this 3-masted American sailing ship was sailing from Melbourne to London, sort of planning on going via Cape Horn, but unfortunately, in the dark, it hit the cliffs, these huge sheer cliffs of the Auckland Islands, and didn't sink straight away, but then sort of it hit this lull, so there was all of a sudden no wind, and it was just at the mercy of the lack of winds, and it just smashed up against these huge cliffs, and then the currents dragged it inside a big cave, and the masts came down on top of all the people, and there were originally 83 people on board. 15 made it ashore, and only 10 ultimately survived, because
Wow.
and those 10 had lived a year and a half on the really harrowing Auckland Islands, which are just windswept and stormy, and and there's a account I was reading about these people had only like one dry match left. They'd tried these other matches and they'd all gone out, and they knew their survival for warmth and cooking and anything like that was based on would that match light. And this man with trembling hands just managed to light on the stone. He struck the last match on the stone, and it lit the little tinder they had going. Anyway, yeah, but they had to hook wild pigs with a hook to, it was just hell. And then another boat of these, 4 or 5 brave men who were trying to get all the way back to the main islands of New Zealand to raise the alarm, because nobody bloody knew. They knew a ship was missing, but didn't know where. And so these men went off in like a little lifeboat, and they were never seen again.
Wow.
So they lost their lives, and just amazing stories. So yes, people, it's not just about what they can find, about the treasure hunting. People get really passionate about the story and history and maritime history. And so, for example,
I reckon the spooky one would be the all the Chinese, the kind of that coffin ship in the Hokianga. That would be a haunted shipwreck. I wouldn't want to go anywhere near that.
Absolutely, but the actual the worst maritime disaster in New Zealand, 189 people died, and that was the Orpheus. Right. So can you imagine 189 people dying? So there's it's pretty full on, but we still have modern day shipwrecks. There was, remember the what was the name of it? It's the cruise ship that Costa Concordia.
And they after all those years, they corrected it. They got it back up and going.
Right, amazing. Remember how the captain was probably showboating to the Russian ballerina or something, and he went close to shore, and but we had New Zealand an example of that. We had down in the Mantell Lermontov, and was it 1986 or something? Right. It sunk, and that was because the New Zealand pilot he decided to go through this gap, which usually nobody ever took a big cruise ship through, and it struck the rocks and tore a massive long hole in the rocks, and the Russian captain came racing back on board to onto the bridge, and they tried to head towards the nearest beach, but that was quite far, and it just finally sank, and in about 110 feet of water. And I've been scuba diving on that. It's in the Marlborough Sounds in the top of the South Island. So we still definitely have modern day shipwrecks, and but it's an amazing ship to go for a dive on, is the Mantell Lermontov. I recommend that.
That name rings bells. Hey, I'm looking at buying an old cruise ship because they're getting rid of them really cheap. You can buy a cruise ship these days for like $6 million, and it's got about 800 rooms on it and all its cabins and whatnot. So I was looking at it to do a confidentially, just like an accommodation boat, like an MIQ. But we kind of don't need MIQs anymore. But anyways, so that's a work in progress. I'm parking that over there. But I just can appreciate.
Incredible.
Oh yeah, how big the boats are and how crazy life at sea can be for these big things. They're moving cities. It's just absolutely crazy. And for those who go down now, it's bigger than Titanic. They're like 5 times bigger than Titanic. It would be crazy. Hey, can I just ask, what are there any privately owned sunken wrecks out there at the moment in New Zealand left, or are they all been sold off and they're all the property of the government?
I know that, I know who we sold our shipwrecks to. So I assume that they still own them legally, but I think maybe it's about, like I am not 100% sure, and I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I do know that the New Zealand government is much stricter on basically any dive operations. So, for example, with the Ventnor, they were they see it as like a tomb, so therefore they don't really want anybody diving on it because it's like a graveyard or something, which you respect. I do respect that, but at the same time, but I think it just depends. You write in your application. They want to know exactly what's happening and all the details of the expedition. So, and then they want to know exactly what you found, of course, and I think they have the power to keep that or definitely record it. And I should have researched that a bit more. Sorry.
Oh no. I mean, we can do our own research on that, but I just find that exciting. I also found something very exciting was that was it a German submarine going up the Dargaville River or something like that? Someone's saying it, a German submarine or a submarine, I'm not sure if it's German, went straight up that Dargaville. They've got a big dirty brown river there.
The Hokianga Harbour.
It must be. And then it sunk in there.
No, hold on. Sorry, what is it? The Kaipara. Excuse me. Let's try that again.
Kaipara.
The Kaipara, the Northern Kaipara Harbour.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, okay. All right.
So,
I'm not that familiar with that one.
Yeah. I'm just going to do something. I'm just going to go submarine.
Yeah, that's interesting though, because that's the area that Kelly was born. So Dad was born in Te Kaupuru, which is outside of Dargaville on the Northern Kaipara Harbour. Or the Kaipara Harbour anyway.
German U-boat. Dargaville is found in Dargaville. So I'm just reading a Radio New Zealand story. New Zealand Heritage Group says it has discovered what appears to be a German U-boat lying in a watery grave off the Kaipara coast in Northland. The Underwater Heritage Group says the mystery of how the U-boat came to be there involves Nazis and stolen treasure.
Wow.
How about that?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, that would be really exciting. So is there a dive expedition on that one? Or?
No, well, we would know all about it, but I don't think so. I'd have to I would try and get the New Zealand Heritage Group, Underwater Heritage Group to...
okay. Yeah, actually talking about... I can easily find out about that. I definitely know the experts who know a lot more than me on that, because today I had with my mother, the pleasure of awarding the Kelly Tarlton Recognition Award for New Zealand Underwater Heritage, 2021. Awesome. So that was to a well-deserving guy called Pete Mesley, who owns Lust for Rust, which is he basically takes people on scuba diving trips on shipwrecks, not only in New Zealand but around the South Pacific, particularly up to Truk, up sort of near Guam and that area where. And not just scuba divers with aqualungs, but there's guys called tech divers who are literally like the astronauts of the sea, and they have all these rebreathable units, and they can be down there for hours. So they'll go scuba diving on something like a shipwreck like the Niagara up near Whangarei and the Four Nights kind of area along the coast up there, which had lots of gold on it, but that's seriously deep, and no scuba diver could go and dive that one, but these tech divers can do that sort of thing, like serious depths, and they'll spend 5 hours or more underwater. And so anyway, he also is doing a really exciting thing.
What was his name again? Sorry,
his name is Pete Mesley. He's quite a character. Yeah, he'd be a good guy to talk to.
Yeah, I'll definitely get him on.
He's actually just gone today after he received this, the Kelly Tarlton Award for shipwreck diving. That's what the New Zealand Underwater Heritage Club So there is a club, and you can join up that club, by the way, if you're keen on shipwrecks and maritime history. And anyway, yes.
Can I just say, what a great name! What a great name for an award! I've won a Tarlton. Isn't that a bloody great name for an award? I love it.
Yeah. Well, actually, it was actually the club that approached my family, and said we would like to name the award, our annual award, after your father. Is that okay with you? And we said yes, we'd be very honoured. Thank you. So cool. So it wasn't actually our family creating it, but anyway, so Pete Mesley also does 3D modelling. He's scuba diving on shipwrecks around New Zealand, and using a technique called photogrammetry. And so he's essentially like 3D photographing real shipwrecks. And so there was actually a German guy who lives in New Zealand called Axel came up with the concept, and Pete's working on it now. And so he's you can do something like I actually got to experience it once. So you know how you have virtual reality with your little Samsung phone over your eyes, and so before I actually scuba dived the Mantell Lermontov, I virtual reality dove it. So it really felt so real. So I was going inside these huge rooms underwater. I remember like the stairwell, and so you got a real sense of depth of this, sort of silted, covered. It's quite spooky looking. Some of these things you got to be, you got to be a bit brave to do this, because it's quite ghostly. There's definitely a sensation of when you're in these places with big depths and big rooms, and you're floating up in space overlooking it all, but it's a really incredible way of experiencing shipwreck diving, and to prepare yourself to before you actually get in the water to do it. So, well, for anybody who can't dive, it's another way of learning about New Zealand shipwrecks.
That's so cool. Michelle Hall writes, were the remains of the Rainbow Warrior shipwrecked?
So what about the Rainbow Warrior?
Was that shipwreck that was taken out to sea? It was like a mini reef at the end, wasn't it?
Yeah. So the Rainbow Warrior, that was a terrorist action by the French government. They sent out their French terrorists, and actually just near Iraqi, they took a Zodiac out under the little causeway, under Tamaki Drive, and placed some underwater bombs using a rebreathable unit so that no aqualung bubbles would rise up. And so they put it actually underneath the area where most people would be sleeping at that time of night. But luckily there was a birthday on board, and everybody was basically having beers and wines down the other end of the ship. And so when the bomb went off, they were actually, they managed to get off. But the one person that died was the photographer, who was really adamant about trying to recover his photographs, because the Rainbow Warrior just returned from sort of protesting French nuclear testing in the South Pacific. They'd been up, I'm trying to remember, not Bikini Atoll.
Was your dad a fan of the Rainbow Warrior? Was Kelly a fan?
I think it was sunk after Dad died. So Dad died in 1985, and it was but I think Dad had actually been on the real Rainbow Warrior and knew some of the the people involved. Like it was a guy called David Robbie, and who wrote a really good book. And anyway, but I've scuba dived it 3 times. So it's up near the Cavalli Islands. So it's a really beautiful dive there, because it was purposely sunk. So it was taken from Auckland, where the French wrecked it, and the French photographer died. But anyways, then they, with certain shipwrecks, like some ones, like there's a Canterbury and the Tui, there's these old Navy frigates. So what they'll do is they'll take all the dangerous things out of the shipwreck, so wires or ropes or anything that divers might get caught up in, and they'll tow it somewhere, and they have a very planned way of sort of dropping it down so that they want it to land on its side, it will land on its side. And so it's very it's very carefully placed, and over time really beautiful reefs grow, so it's like a marine sanctuary, and all the little fish and nudibranch, sort of colourful slugs, so to speak, nudibranchs, and octopus, and you name it. They all create this new home for them, and then it's an attraction. So it's a really brilliant way of helping the marine environment with creating a reef and reusing the historical ship and tourism, and so it's a good idea.
Can I ask a personal question? Sorry, I'm not sure. How did Kelly die? How did he pass on?
So he was only 47 years old, so really young. But he did so much during his life. Like there's two books written about him. One called The Adventurous Life of Kelly Tarlton. But what happened was that he'd been working 18 hours a day building the aquarium, leading a big team of people. There's a lot of financial stress, and you can imagine. My mother had just had her 40th birthday, and so he had organised a surprise party for her. And with a naughty knickers cake with like lace, and it had this really fun birthday cake and birthday party for Mum. And he'd written and drawn this big card of the world, of the globe, and anywhere you want to go, sort of Rosemary. They're going to go on a trip once it was all over, and they were actually going to visit me in America. I was an exchange student in Massachusetts. I was with AFS. Going to high school there, so had he lived 21 more days, I would have seen him and Mum. So, instead, I ended up flying back to New Zealand. But he had just greeted the day he died. Like he had just shaken the hand of the 100,000th person who had come through Kelly Tarlton's. So all the accountants had said you won't get 100,000 people for about 6 or 7 months, but after 7 weeks there was 100,000 people going through. It was a huge success. There was just people lined up right up the corridors to get in, and it was just mind-blowing, the success of it. And he had many more plans of other things he wanted to do as well, with expansion of the aquarium and further shipwrecks he wanted to dive on. He wanted to have another go at the General Grant, and another go at another ship up in near Holland called the Lutine. Anyway, so he wanted to go back to the Lutine as well. So he went, had a nice dinner, which Mum made, and he went to bed, and she woke up with him dead next to her. So he had a heart condition. It wasn't a heart attack, but when he was a little kid, he got a really bad staphylococcus infection, and he spent months and months in hospital. He almost died then when I don't know, he was 10 or 11 years old or something. And so doctors had always said to him, don't do this, don't do that. He used to be a mountaineer before he got into scuba diving, and don't scuba dive, it's too hard on you. And so he was working, as I said, 18-hour days building the aquarium, and there had been financial stress because there'd been problems not with what Dad was doing, but there have been a few others. Anyway, I won't go into that, but there was stress, and so
he pushed the tractor till it stopped.
Say that again.
He pushed the tractor until it stopped, pretty much.
Yeah, but I didn't know that he had this heart condition. But so at the time, I think if you had that problem with that valve, people flew to Australia and they had the operation there, and then you had 3 months recuperating. and Dad was in the middle of building his lifelong dream. So he couldn't afford taking 3 months off work. So he said, oh, later. I'll do it after it. I'll do it later. Right. But he never bloody got that opportunity for later. So, yeah, it's definitely the biggest tragedy in our lives. And to this day, we miss him so much. And actually, just recently, 31st of October, Halloween was Dad's birthday. And, so had he lived, he would have been 84. So wow. we still cry and miss him so much. Yeah. Because not because he was a famous guy and anything like that, just because he was a great guy. Like, Thane, you would have liked him. He's a perfect guy to have a glass of red wine or beer with, and tell some good stories. And he's very low key and good guy.
He squeezed some life into his life, right? 47 years. Holy moly! Wow.
Yeah. So my sister and I learned that from Dad, that from Dad dying at a such a young age, that we've packed a lot into life as well. Like we sort of go a million miles an hour too. It's been a bit hard during lockdown because it's put the brakes on. But I really like adventures and getting out there and doing a wide variety of things. So with a role model like Kelly in my life, and my sister Nicole's life, then we don't sit around watching TV all the time.
Yeah, exactly. We've got to have a Kelly Tarlton movie. I mean, someone's got to get that together.
A documentary.
A really good documentary, and we need a great big brass statue somewhere. Going to be a park named after this. The other thing I was thinking was, as a tribute, you've got to get that done. How did he have a funeral? Was he buried at sea? Is he in Waikimiri? Where did he end up?
Yeah. So yes, the funeral was actually at Kelly Tarlton. So just as I said, recently been opened, and I flew all the way back from the east coast of America, via LA and to New Zealand, and went straight to the aquarium. And a few days later was this enormous funeral, and there were all the TV news stations were there, and all the who's who of the dive world, and it was everybody spoke, and it was all organized speakers. And then they said, oh, would anybody else like to speak? And I sort of raised my hand and gave an impromptu speech. And a lot of the divers who were core team of divers actually came up to me later. They're pretty hardcore, they're Kiwi blokes, and they said they hadn't cried until I spoke about what it was like to have Kelly as a father, and just just what a lovely guy he was. Like when I had a boyfriend at 16, and I was a terrible cook, and he'd wanted me to make him dinner with also a friend of mine, and Kelly actually secretly made this beautiful roast dinner. And just before the two boyfriends of my friend and I arrived, Kelly disappeared, and the guys thought that we had cooked this amazing roast dinner. Just lots of things like this, I used to when he was out to sea, I used to sometimes be naughty and sneak his Toyota Land Cruiser Jeep and go foil driving up in the Waitangi forestry and just do crazy things with it and come back covered in mud. And I'd fill it up on his account because I wasn't very clever, I guess. I'd fill it up in his petrol account and tie hair, and take it to a cow shed and hose it down with the high pressure hoses and get all the mud off it, and then parked it back in the driveway. And I remember Dad coming in and looking at the foil drive, and all of a sudden he just squatted down on the concrete and looked underneath the foil drive. And I hadn't thought about cleaning the mud underneath it. So he got completely busted. Like he knew, but he walked in and he never said anything. And he obviously, I guess the guys from the petrol station must have bloody told him as well. But he was just cool with it. He was just like,
I love it. I love it. Yeah, Michelle Hall says Kelly should be posthumously recognised in the Queen's Honours List for the work he did prior to his death and the success of his sea life aquarium that is today. You know what? We could put that application in. I think we should file it because you just have to nominate. That's how it works. I
would love that. I think he absolutely deserves it. That'd be so wonderful. Thank you for that suggestion of the lady calling in about that. So it's a great idea, because you know what's crazy is that, as I said, there's 2 international Hall of Fames who have recognised Kelly. I can show you the awards as well.
Yeah, I'd love to see them.
Yeah. So okay, there's I don't know. Can you see? Like, there's Kelly picture. So this one's actually.
Oh yeah, I see it there. Yes.
So that's IAAPA, the IAAPA Hall of Fame. Wow. Kelly Tarlton inducted basically 2018 in recognition, outstanding achievement and contribution of extraordinary talent and energy to the worldwide amusement park and attraction industry. So, IAAPA, New Zealanders might not necessarily know about it, but it's been going 100 years. Walt Disney is in there for Disneyland. Singapore Zoo is in there for their night zoos, which have now been emulated all around the world. So Kelly Tarleton's, which has been copied, as I said, there's about 40 different aquariums based on Kelly's, concept. Has been 40 around the world now, based on his idea and his design, so anyway, that's pretty cool. My sister and I got flown to Hong Kong to receive that and had to give a speech in front of 1,000 people at the big ceremony for that. And then there's this one which my mother was flown to the Cayman Islands for. So I don't know if you can see, but that's the International Scuba Diving Hall of Fame. That was in 2012. And so the Cayman Islands is a beautiful place to dive. It's up near Cuba. And anyway, so yeah, that's where the International
Are we able to have a little look-see at that shot of Kelly, the black and white one in the back of the award?
Oh, okay, it's actually a painting. Can you see it?
Is it? Yeah. No, I can't. Oh, sorry, your camera's frozen there. I'm just waiting for it to.
Okay, right. What's happened? Oh. Okay, let's try that again. That's better. Sorry.
Yeah, let's do that again. Let's have another look.
I'm not that hot with technology, as you can tell.
That's okay. It's slowly...
Okay, so it's a painting. Yeah.
There it is.
But yeah, we've got lots of things of shipwrecks around. There's a model of a ship. Which is all created by this man in his garage. It's so we've got quite a few of them of different New Zealand shipwrecks, and I don't know what else we've got cannons, there's guns. Wow. And there's that's a bust of Kelly of which is a copy from when he passed away. The New Zealand Underwater Association made a big bronze bust of Kelly, which is down at town of the aquarium, in Auckland. But they made 2 copies, and so gave one to my sister and one to me. So that's nice. But this I don't know, in our place, I don't know, you can't really see, but there's steering wheels off ships and so many things. We used to have a lot more, but Mum sold when she sold Kelly Tarleton Museum of Shipwrecks. She sold through auction webs. It was actually a TV program they had advertised. I didn't go along because I really thought I'd sit there and cry because I was so sad that these things were being sold. But I understood her reasoning. So.
Can you tell me what music did Kelly like to listen to at the end? Right.
Well, he loved Grace Jones and Cat Stevens, Kenny Rogers. I think the Shadows. He used to have a lot of parties. Like Halloween was definitely, we used to have parties at a place. All these drunken divers and their partners. And actually, even when he was a really young, in Christchurch and things. He used to, and also up in Whangarei when he's flatting. I think he used to have this where if you the louder you turn the stereo, the more the lights of the house would dim. And then he had it set up also where I think the alarm clock would boil the kettle. And just amazing little. He's always inventing things. He's an amazing inventor. He was a clever guy for somebody who's still about 14 and 15 years old.
Yeah, absolutely. I bet he just looked like a good guy, a real GC. I'm definitely on the once we finish talking, maybe tomorrow or day after, let's definitely talk about nominating him for the New Year's. I've seen the paperwork that you got to put in to get on the Queen's Honours list, and I think Kelly ticks every box, and I think that can really become a reality. So that's something that's going to happen. I'm very impressed about the Grace Jones. I think that is so cool.
Yeah. Actually, and I've seen Grace Jones. I lived in Manhattan in the East Village, and Grace Jones was great friends with an artist, a pop artist called Keith Haring, and Keith died of HIV/AIDS, and so I went to the Palladium nightclub where MTV was filmed. And they had this Grace Jones concert, and I felt like I was only heterosexual, and but I had an amazing time. And she was just up on stage, and she was only meant to perform for half an hour, but 2 hours later she was still going. It was awesome.
So cool. Well, look, I've got a couple of leads here for some shipwrecks. I just find the whole shipwreck thing so goddamn interesting, and anything that is kind of that nature, especially when there's a treasure hunt to it, it just really gets my interest. So I'm going to follow up on those guys. But it's been really fantastic talking to you tonight and getting to know your story and reliving some Kelly Tarlton moments again. I've always seen Kelly Tarlton as a hero and just an incredible Auckland and New Zealander. And just with a fascinating life, a love for life. I always dig talking to people who are passionate about stuff. So I've really enjoyed this evening. And I thank you very much for your time, Fiona.
Look, thank you so much, Thane. And I really hope you fulfill your dream with the cruise ship, because I'll definitely come on board.
Yes.
We'll have a few drinks on board.
Absolutely. Let's do that. I'll definitely have the Kelly Tarlton suite.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be able to contribute something to it with I don't know, some interesting wall art or some photo of Kelly or something, or something up a shipwreck. So we'll work on it. Thank you. I've really enjoyed it.
Okay, thank you very much, and have a pleasant evening. We'll catch up again.
Okay, and thanks to the listeners' questions. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Right.
See ya. Well, guys, how about that? Who loved that? Man, that has made my night. And I've got all the names down here. There's somebody who came in the messages and said, if you want to talk shipwrecks, talk to this fella. I'm definitely going to follow up on that. Renata Terendak, New Zealand shipwreck stories, if you're interested. I love a good shipwreck story, and I bloody love a good treasure hunt story. So, and is it nice to have a bona fide legend there on the show? So Fiona, thank you very much. Michelle, it has been very interesting hearing you, Fiona, memories of your dad. He had an incredible life. Awesome of Thane for arranging the interview. No worries. And that was a late arrange too, everybody. I'm so glad that I went, of course, how about? Also, isn't it crazy that I'm 47 next year, the same age as Kelly died? Isn't that nuts? Makes you think, boy, I'm going to really go and check the blood pressure. Thank you very much. And thank you very much, Matt Meldon. She was absolutely awesome. Hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. We're a little short tonight. It's coming up 10:10 by 20 minutes. We're back tomorrow, everyone, with Mike and Stuart from New Zealand Fashion Week. We're going to be talking what's next for that brand. I think she's managing it. I'm not sure if the family owns it anymore, but it is a great success story. And she joins us from 9:10 tomorrow. Thanks everyone for tuning in. This is on demand anytime you want to rewatch or whatnot. But expect some treasure hunters and shipwreck stories. More of those interviews coming up. Evening.